Michaela Chester here with NCAA Digital. I am joined by Elizabeth Grimsley, the founder and editor-in-chief of College Gym News. We're going to preview the NCAA Gymnastics Nationals. We just saw a terrific regional competition, Elizabeth. I mean, it couldn't have gotten better, but I want to first start you off with talking about Florida. They put up the third all-time highest score in the regionals and just an amazing performance. Trinity Thomas had 4 perfect tens. Is it their championship to lose right now? Do you think they're just a total front runner?
Yeah, I think Florida is definitely the front runner, both with itself and with Trinity Thomas in the all around. Like you said, she had a pretty fantastic meet. Both days of competition that they competed, they were pretty dominant. They scored almost a point higher than Auburn, which was the second advancing team out of that regional. And I think it was even 5/10 higher than the next highest team in any regional. So that's definitely the team to beat. Our senior data editor, Jenna King, did some simulations for the national champion, and Florida is expected to win with like almost a 50% chance, which is pretty huge for gymnastics and for the national championship. I think the next highest team is Oklahoma with just over 25% chance. So I think it's the heavy favorite.
Oklahoma, Michigan, maybe? Do you think those are the next 2 front runners?
Yeah, for sure. Oklahoma, I think, is probably the second closest team to Florida. And Michigan's the reigning champion. You can't really count it out. It had sort of an off regional. I wouldn't even go as far as saying off. It just didn't have its ideal lineups on every event. So it'll be interesting to see if those gymnasts were just being rested because it was confident in making nationals, or if there's a little bit something up with those gymnasts that we'll have to see on semifinal day. But Michigan does have what we would call the easier semifinal out of the 2. So I don't think it'll have a problem making the team final on Saturday, but it's definitely one of the contenders for the national title as well.
So Florida, top contender, obviously, as we already mentioned, Trinity Thomas. She had a 39.9 in the regionals, a season slam, 4 perfect tens. Is she also the favorite for the all-around championship?
Yeah, before regionals, I would have put Jade Carey up there with her, but I think Trinity's dominant performance at regionals has really set her ahead of the pack of all the other all-arounders. A 39.9 is like a single step on one landing in all 4 routines. So that's pretty crazy that she can score that high. And it's not like it was just a one-off performance either. She consistently scores around that number. So I think we'll probably see a couple tens from her this weekend or next week. And I think we'll probably see her at the top of the podium as well, unless something drastic happens with the competition.
Okay, so aside from Florida, Oklahoma as the front runners, what is the most exciting storyline for you heading into championships?
Well, I mentioned how Michigan's in sort of the easier semifinal. So the other semifinal is going to be sort of like a cutthroat race to see who makes the team final. Only 2 teams will qualify. I think Oklahoma is more or less a sure thing. So it'll really come down to Utah and Alabama for the other spot. Minnesota's good, but I don't think it really has the same level of scoring potential as those other 2 teams. But Utah and Alabama already met once at the Seattle Regional, and they scored within a quarter of a tenth of each other. That's basically as close as you can get without actually tying. So while Utah has been in the top 4 pretty much all season long, I think Alabama has sort of worked its way up there throughout the whole season and is basically at the same level as Utah, and either team could go through on any given day.
And how about Missouri? They qualified for the semifinals. Do we have a little bit of a Cinderella here or an under the radar team?
Yeah, they've made nationals before, but they are guaranteed their highest ranking ever just by nature of making the top 8 already. I think their second highest will have been either 9th or 10th. So they're already guaranteed that. But it's definitely a Cinderella story. I'm not sure they'll be able to make the team final, but even just making nationals at this point is a really big accomplishment. Having upset LSU at regionals to complete the season sweep, it beat LSU 3 times this season, which is pretty unheard of. I don't think anyone expected that coming into the season. And then it also obviously upset UCLA at regionals to make it to Fort Worth next week.
And lastly, I just want to quickly talk about the individual competition. I know we already talked about all around with Trinity Thomas and Jade Carey, but what do you see here? Is it just totally up in the air as usual, or what do you think of this year's slate?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many good gymnasts who have made it either as individuals with Jade Carey or as a part of a team, and they'll be competing also for individual titles. I mean, we always see a lot of ties. I think that's really going to be the case again, just because every gymnast is so close with their really great routines on every event. And I think it'll also really come down to who hits their best routine on the day. So you may see someone who's been ranked #1 on bars all season long, but maybe they have a very minuscule error in their routine on Thursday and they don't end up getting the best score. So I think it's really up in the air, but I think we'll also see sort of like a combination of maybe some surprise national champions tied with some of those like mainstays that you've heard about all season long, like Sunisa Lee or Grace McCallum, or like we've mentioned, Jade Carey and Trinity Thomas, or some of the Michigan gymnasts, Sierra Brooks or Gabby Wilson. So I think it'll really be sort of like a combination of a surprise and some of those dominant athletes from the whole season.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to ask really quickly, do you have a favorite moment from the regionals? I know this is tough, but there were so many great moments and tens across the board. So I wanted to hear your opinion on what you liked the most.
You know, I was at the Norman Regional. I was doing photography for College Gym News there with our senior editor, Brandis Hefner. And I really enjoyed seeing some of the individuals that qualified out of that regional. Lyndon Woods, Gayla Griswold qualified on vault, and she's a D2 gymnast, which is pretty unheard of to qualify to NCAA nationals. And then also, I have to give a shout out to Jay Mack. She's an Illinois State gymnast. She qualified on floor. Her routine is just so fun. And while I'm unbiased media, I was really pulling for her to make it as an individual, just because I'm excited to see her on the national stage as well next week.
Well, Elizabeth, thank you so much. Looking forward to the national competition, and thank you for breaking this all down with me.
Yeah, thank you.